Welcome back. A court in Malawi has convicted and sentenced 2 men and a woman to death for killing a person with albinism. The court found Douglas Mwale, Fonito Folosani and Sophie Jare guilty of murdering Prescott Pepuzani in 2015 using a metal bar and a hoe handle. The trio chopped off Pepuzani's limb and later buried the rest of the body in a garden. This is the second death sentence handed down in the country in the past 3 months, following one in May this year for the murder of albino teenager Mfatso Pensulo in 2017. Malawi has, since late 2014, seen a surge in attacks on people with albinism, whose body parts are often used in witchcraft rituals. Let's get more on this story from the CEO, President of the Nigeria Albino Foundation, Mr. Jacob Pele. Thanks for joining us on the program today. So what do you make of the Malawi court judgment in which 3 people were sentenced to death for killing an albino?
Well, it's unfortunate that this crime have not been abated. It's unfortunate that it continues to happen. However, death sentence for this type of crime will have negative impact. I would not personally, and on behalf of the foundation, I will not propose for such a hideous penalty. Rather, let the government of Malawi fight the source, fight those who are involved in buying these parts. They are politicians like the president of Malawi. They should find out who are the people. $75,000 for a body parts of persons with albinism is not a small amount of money for those local native doctors. They can't afford it. So somebody somewhere is funding that process, and they should get hold of those who are funding the process, not necessarily the person who goes to do the killing, which is also he or she is also a criminal. But we should go to the source of the issue and deal with it. Death penalty will put us, it will put us in problem with various human rights organizations who are championing that death penalty should be removed. So using that as a measure can be very high-handed.
Yeah, Mr. Pele, but these things are they're still happening, and the Association of People Living with Albinism in Malawi have welcomed the ruling, hoping it will deter further attacks on their members. While you said that you're against the death penalty, what would you say the government can introduce to deter people or sentence to be given to people that are found, committing these crimes?
Well, first and foremost, the government of every nations that have persons with albinism, which is generally every nation have persons with albinism, should work with albinism groups, albinism organizations in that country. Engage them, let them tell you what the issues are. Engage with more development partners and development organizations, CSOs, who are working in the field. Engage the security operatives, the police. Some of these people involved in this hideous act have very high-ranking police personnel who gives them coverage. Those type of individuals should be fished out from the force and dealt with, But the local community should be empowered to, first of all, know their rights. Secondly, report these issues as and when they happen. Thirdly, ensure that individual persons with albinism are aware of their environment. They are aware of what to do. Many of them are susceptible to these people who sometimes get hold of them by offering them, some of them, they offer them money.
Yeah.
And
Mr. Pele.
lure them into it.
Yeah.
Yes.
We really hope more is done to protect albinos in the community. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us, Mr. Jacob Pele, President of the Nigeria Albino Foundation. Thank you for joining us on Network Africa.
Thank you.
Moving on, the United Kingdom and the United States have expressed concerns over continuing reports of abductions in Zimbabwe this week. This comes ahead of Friday's planned opposition protest over the economic crisis. Civil society groups say at least 6 opposition and civil society members have been abducted and tortured by suspected state agents. However, the government has denied the accusations of state involvement. Spokesman Nick Mangwana says the abductions are not what President Emerson Mnangagwa stands for, and there is a need to investigate and arrest the culprits. Western governments have called on Zimbabwe to respect the right to peaceful protest. The planned protests are expected to roll out across the country over the next week, but the police have warned the public against taking part in the demonstrations. Let's take you to St. Louis now in Senegal to meet an artist who makes sculptures out of old bicycles. Mesa Fall, both a sculptor and poet, says he sees this as closing the circle in the cycle of life. Take a look.
Mesa Fall from St. Louis, Senegal, has had a passion for bicycles since he was a boy. The 55-year-old began by following his father's footsteps, repairing bicycles and motorbikes. But even as a child, he could see shapes coming out of the bikes that his father made him clean over and over again after they had been fixed.
When I was young, I would be in my father's workshop cleaning motorcycles, bicycles, on the days when there was no school. And it was chaos. My friends were playing nearby. There were children playing everywhere, and I wanted to join them. So after cleaning, I would say, "Daddy, that's it, it's clean, come and see." And he would say, "No, Mesa. Look at the handler bar, the link, the rim, the spokes, yes, the chain, the gears, the cogs, the brakes, the mud guard, and the luggage carrier." And I would clean a second time around, and in my head I would transform them into birds' personalities. Anything, because bikes have human and animal forms, so it's not hard to transform them. There is a saying with bicycles. We say front paw and back paw.
He says the more he cleaned the bicycles, the more he fell in love with them. And with time, he turned his visions into reality. Today, he recycles abandoned bicycles using every part to create sculptures effectively extending their usefulness into perpetuity.
With some bikes, including the luggage carrier and everything, you can find 2,000 pieces, and none of them work without the other. There is a union, a solidarity. They are together, they are soldered together.
Fall used to ride motorbikes as a youth, cheering through the narrow streets of St. Louis, an old colonial city on the northwest coast of Senegal, whose central architecture is protected by UNESCO. He says he became wiser as he grew older, and today prefers to ride at a slower pace on his clean and quiet bicycle.
It's the best invention because it does not pollute. We don't need to go to the petrol station, and it doesn't produce any noise. You don't bother anyone.
Mesa hopes to pass on his passion, his art and his skill, which he calls cycle of art, to his son Basiru, to ensure the cycle of creation and repurposing remains unbroken.
That's the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tenyola Shabuale.